Why is the United States so determined to deport Mexicans and other undocumented immigrants? Is it truly about upholding the law? Or is there something deeper driving this relentless pursuit? To understand the motivations behind U.S. deportation policies, we must look beyond the headlines and examine the complexities web of laws, politics, economics, and history that shape America's approach to immigration. First, consider the legal framework. The United States has some of the world's strictest immigration laws. Simply being in the country without proper documentation is a violation, sometimes civil, sometimes criminal, but always serious in the eyes of the authorities. Agencies such as Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as IC, are mandated to enforce these laws. Their mission is to identify, detain, and remove those who do not have legal status in the country. Deportation, in this context, is not just an act of law enforcement. It is institutionalized and embedded in the machinery of government. But law enforcement is only part of the story. Immigration is a deeply political issue in America, one that transcends party lines and election cycles. Both Democrats and Republicans have, at various points, used immigration as a tool to rally their bases and influence public opinion. For some, a tough stance on immigration signals a commitment to national security, economic stability, and the preservation of a certain cultural identity. For others, the debate centers on compassion, reform, and the promise of the American dream. Yet, reality often blurs these political lines. While Democrats may talk about humane reform, history shows that deportations have continued and even accelerated under their watch. Barack Obama, for instance, presided over more deportations than any president before him, earning the nickname Deporter-in-Chief. This bipartisan consensus on enforcement reveals that deportation is not solely the domain of one political ideology, but rather a reflection of deeper anxieties and interests within American society. A closer look reveals that deportation policies are not applied equally to all undocumented immigrants. Undocumented Europeans and Canadians are often able to blend into the background, rarely attracting the attention of immigration authorities. In contrast, Latino immigrants, particularly those from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, bear the brunt of aggressive enforcement. This disparity is not accidental. It is the result of decades of racial profiling, economic scapegoating, and a long history of anti-Mexican sentiment in the United States. In 2024, more than 3/4 of all deportations involved people from these countries, underscoring how race and ethnicity influence who is targeted for removal. The argument often made is that undocumented immigrants take jobs away from American citizens. But the reality is more nuanced. Most undocumented workers fill roles that are difficult, low-paid, and often shunned by American workers. They labor in fields, factories, kitchens, and nursing homes, performing essential work that sustains entire industries and communities. Despite their contributions, they lack basic rights, no voting power, no access to health insurance, and little protection from exploitation. They pay taxes, support local economies, and contribute to Social Security, often without hope of seeing those benefits themselves. So who truly gains from their removal? The reality is that many sectors of the American economy depend on the labor of undocumented immigrants, even as political rhetoric paints them as a burden. Deportation, in many cases, is not just about removing individuals. It is about sending a message. The government often uses high-profile raids, family separations, and zero-tolerance policies as tools of deterrence. The goal is to make an example out of those caught, warning others not to attempt the journey north. This spectacle of control is meant to reinforce the idea that the U.S. is serious about its borders, willing to go to great lengths, even controversial ones, to maintain order. Yet these policies have devastating human consequences, affecting not only those deported, but also their families, including U.S.-born children and long-term residents. This hardline approach has also fueled the militarization of the U.S.-Mexico border. Over the years, Border enforcement has transformed into a multi-billion-dollar industry, with private prisons, surveillance technology companies, and security contractors all profiting from the system. The border has become one of the most heavily fortified zones in the Western Hemisphere. For many immigrants, crossing it is not just a legal hurdle but a gauntlet of physical and emotional danger. And yet the irony remains. America needs immigrants. They are the backbone of its food systems, healthcare, construction, and service industries. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many undocumented immigrants were hailed as essential workers, risking their health to keep the country running. Despite this, many were excluded from relief programs, detained, or deported. The contradiction is stark. A country that relies on the labor and contributions of undocumented immigrants, even as it works tirelessly to expel them. At the center of every deportation is a human story. Families are separated, dreams are shattered, and communities are destabilized. Many of those deported have lived in the United States for years, sometimes decades. They have children who are American citizens, mortgages, and deep roots in their communities. With a single knock at the door, everything they have built can be erased in an instant. Ultimately, the issue is not just about deportation. It is about a broken immigration system that has failed to adapt to the realities of modern America. Comprehensive reform has been promised for over 2 decades, but every effort has stalled in Congress, leaving millions in limbo. As politicians argue and policies shift with each new administration, real people continue to bear the consequences. So the question is not only why the U.S. government is so eager to deport Mexicans and other undocumented immigrants, but why it refuses to fix what is clearly broken. If the nation truly believes in justice, opportunity, and equality, then immigration should not be wielded as a weapon of fear. It should be reimagined as a pathway to belonging, one that recognizes the dignity and humanity of all people. This is not just a question of laws and borders. It is a question of values. Who are we as a nation? Who do we want to be? If you believe in truth, justice, and dignity for all, now is the time to speak up. Share this message. Demand change. Because no human being is illegal. While it's true that laws exist to maintain order and structure in society, it's important to remember that not all laws are perfect or just. Sometimes, enforcement can feel harsh or excessive, reflecting the choices of those in power. As citizens, we have a responsibility to question and improve our systems, ensuring they serve justice and humanity. If you found this perspective thought-provoking, consider supporting the channel for more insightful discussions and analysis.